Coronavirus na something we dey. It no sabi race, it no sabi gender, it no sabi tribe. It don't kill thousands of Africans around the world because it no been get cure. But the good news now, it don't get vaccine. Coronavirus na all man in business. So tell you people that way you like. On a member say, we all not safe till we all learn safe.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are watching or listening to us from. It's your favorite Nyohobai show coming your way from the Gambian Talents Television. And I'm your presenter, your host, Pa Usman Juf. And I have the pleasure to introduce my guest, Mr. Bruma Dibba. Welcome to the Nyohobai show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Juf.
You are currently in Seattle.
Yes.
What brought you here?
I actually came to visit family members, in many places in America, and I intended to go back on the 30th of March, and I got stuck here due to coronavirus. And since then, I'm stuck here right now.
We will come back to that, but for the sake of our audience who don't know who Bruma Dibba is, what can you tell us about yourself?
My name is Bruma Dibba. I'm from Farafenye. In Farafenye, they call me Bruma Janke.
Bruma Janke.
Yes, I went to school I was born in 1960. I went to school in Farafenye until my secondary fourth. And I moved to Nusrat High School in 1977. And I did 3 years in Nusrat. At the time, that was what they gave us when from secondary school.
Okay.
And I graduated in 1980. I taught for a while in Bakau Primary School and also in Kerchorno.
Okay.
Then from there, I joined the Telecoms Training Center in Banjul. It was they used to call it Vocational Training Center,
Okay.
which later turned to GTTI.
Oh.
But it was in Banjul after there's a section owned by the Telecoms department at the time. Because then that's where I did 2 years of engineering studies. Then I joined the Telecoms department in 1983.
Okay.
I started as a microwave radio technician.
Okay.
We were responsible for the provincial radio link.
Okay.
There were 2 of them, but we are responsible for provincial radio link and also the radio link to Dakar.
Okay.
Because between Dakar and Senegal and Gambia, the telephone service was through a microwave link.
Okay.
Yeah. And other things we are responsible for at the time was single channel radio links. Because single channel radio telephone links to Gunjur, Mandwar and things like that, up country, there are other villages. These are single boxes that, a radio link that you connect to the telephone, the analog telephone at the time.
We are talking about landline here.
Yeah,
for the newer generation, of
Exactly,
course,
yeah.
when you talk about phones, this is what we know, cell phone,
Exactly.
mobile phone. But we are talking about landline here.
Exactly.
Okay.
And up to 1984, then the Gambia government at that time, we had the post and telecommunications at the time.
Gambia Post Office.
Post office and telecommunications, they were one. They were one department. They used to call them Post and Telecoms Department.
Okay.
But the international traffic was owned then by the then Cable and Wireless. It was owned by the British government.
Okay.
Since colonial days, up to 1984.
Okay. Even after independence.
Okay, after independence. Then I think then we had somebody advised the Jawara government, then, to try to buy the old Cable and Wireless, the international section from the British government. And that's what they did. They bought it from everything from the British government and amalgamated the then Cable and Wireless with the Telecoms department. Then separating the Telecoms from the post office. The post office went on its own.
Okay.
Then the telecommunications department joined with the then Cable and Wireless. It was basically, if you know Russell Street in Banjul, next to the hospital, that's where they had the switch terminal. But the other section is in Abuko. That was the international section. So
this is now called Telegraph Road, right?
Thank you. Telegraph Road. That's where that was Cable and Wireless. So those two, when they were amalgamated, that was in 1984. That was brought about the birth of Gamtel.
Gamtel. Okay. We will come back to that. You mentioned attending secondary fourth. Was that at Farafenye Secondary Technical?
Farafenye Secondary School.
How many years was that?
I did 4 years.
So you had to do 4 years of secondary school and then 3 years of
At that
high
time,
school,
at that time,
Italian?
if you didn't have entrance examination to go to high school, the government had what we call secondary schools. At the high school, you do 5 years, but at secondary school, you do 4 years. But believe me, it was a wonderful system because after completing secondary fourth, in many schools, you just do 2 years. They take you back to Form 4 and Form 5. But funnily, most of the curriculum that was done in high school, we already covered it in secondary school. But Nusrat, they just insisted on 3 years at that time. They take you to Form 3.
Okay.
Funnily, my classmates, if I tell you some of them, you'll be funny. My classmates in Form 3 in Nusrat were the Sirif Gomez, the former Minister of Interior and Education, Yaya Jammeh time. You have Tombon Sedi, the former Director General of Lai Conte, the Mayor of KMC.
Okay.
These were all my classmates. We were in the same class, and you know, Banta Kaira is his younger brother of Bajibu Kaira, younger brother of Banta Kaira. These were my classmates. We came from, and Mr. Jallo, Modu Jallo, I believe he's now working at the president's office.
Okay.
Yeah. Modu Jallo. These were all my classmates.
Okay. Just interesting comparing the education system then and now. What can you briefly tell us?
I can say I don't know.
Secondary school, of course, from primary school, you go to middle school, then high school.
You know, we were better. I could say we were better prepared at that time. Maybe I don't know whether it's the methodology or the teachers, curriculum or something like that. But we were so well prepared because by the time we finished high school, we were ready. Most of us from high school straight away anywhere we go to university,
and you can also work and like you were professionally ready to get in the system. Exactly.
Because after the 2 years after doing my 2 years at the VTC, I went to the microwave section. We were working there. We started doing electronics repairs. Then in 1985, I was called into Mr. Bakari Njai's office. By the way, he's my hero.
Bakari Njai, former Minister of Managing Director of Gamtel and Minister of Information Telecommunication.
He's somebody who changed my life. He's somebody I don't know how to explain the kind of person. He's everything to me.
So Bakari Njai was there since in the 80s. He was at Gamtel. Of course, you mentioned, you said it used to be called Cable and Wireless, owned by the British, and of course, telecommunication was owned by the Gambia government, so they amalgamated it. What year was this again?
This was 1984.
1984. And you were there
yes,
working
I started
for telecommunication. 1981.
I started in 1981 as a trainee.
Okay.
Then in 1983, I started working as a microwave radio technician.
Okay.
Yeah. But Bakari Njai, before becoming managing director, he was a lecturer at the same place I was.
Okay.
In fact, some of the people who later became managing director, he was their lecturer.
Okay.
He was the lecturer, yeah. Then he was promoted as a director. Then his assistant was Iliman Cham. Iliman is the person they call my boss because I was very close to Iliman. Iliman was one of the first graduates. In fact, he was the only graduate at the time. When we were starting Gamtel,
okay,
Iliman Cham was the only graduate.
Okay, from international,
even
like abroad.
Bakari Njai himself was not a graduate. Bakari Njai had HND. Honestly,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yes. Nobody had a degree. Only Iliman had a degree. That's how we started.
Let's talk about the amalgamation. So Gamtel, the government, Jawara was advised to buy cable and wireless from the British, and now amalgamated it, separated the post office from the telecommunication. Who were the people behind this? Who did he hire to actually run this project?
Actually, that was the interesting part, because when we were about to start, most people then never believed that it was going to work. And I could remember our first meeting. If you know Russell Street, there was a tower.
Telegraph.
We didn't even have a meeting room. We had a general meeting outside. There was Mr. Bakari Njai. He stood and he faced all of us. He told, look, we are given a task to modernize telecommunications in the Gambia. But many people do not believe us.
Why was that so?
Because they thought maybe we are not educated or Gambians don't take anything seriously. Before then, there was this rice project called RDP.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money was invested in it and it never went into, was not successful.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was saying,
RDP at Dahali Pachar.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying, if Gamtel is done, like they were just going to waste this money. It's going to be just like another RDP. That's what many people were saying. The Gambia government, many people were encouraged to invest in Gamtel at the time. They refused. If I could remember right, only the government owned 99%. Gambia National Insurance Company, GNIC.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had Mr. Omar Dibba. I think it's Omar Dibba. He was the managing director of GNIC. He was the only one who was willing to invest in Gamtel. And GNIC owned 1%, but it was later bought by government again.
Oh.
Yeah. So when it started, nobody believed us. So Bakarinja in a meeting, he said, look, but I believe you people. If we all come together and work well, I am sure this thing can work. And believe me, this is what we did. Everybody came in and we started. Because at that time, the telephone network, in the total number of telephone in Banjul, Serekunda, and few places had telephone. And these were all analog Srauja, the Srauja telephone, it's like rotary telephone. Ratatatat, 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 we used to mock them, that's how it operated. But at that moment, when this thing happened, the Gambia government took a loan from the French government because we're trying to modernize this. Say, look, let us get rid of this old analog system. Let's get the latest technology in the market. At the time, the French had a telephone switch called the E10B. This was what the Gambia government guaranteed the loan. In fact, there was a Gambia government loan, took the loan to buy this equipment and start Gamtel E10B. This was what was done on Cameroon Street. Built this land and everything. That's where Gamtel was born. The first switch was done there, and the cable network started in Banjul and later in Serekunda and few areas, selected areas. That's how Gamtel started.
So Bakarin Jai and Iliman Cham, Keba.
You have MM Cham, Iliman Cham was the deputy. You have MM Cham, Omar Ndao, Pagay, and many other people. Like we had later on Mr. Njai. Bakarin Njai is a very smart guy. Administratively, he went to this place, Quadrangle or somebody. He hired one honorable gentleman called Mr. Jain, Mamadou Jain. He passed away. He's late now. He took Mr. Jain is a perfect and proper administrator. He brought him as an administrative director. Then later went and hired somebody else. Could remember Aliou Cisse as the finance director. Aliou was working for GUC at the time. But Bakari was very good in selecting people. He took the best. And somebody, I could remember there was this other guy, Usman Jala. He's also late. These are the kind of people he brought in. Usman was later the head of the procurement. And we had Fode Cisse, the late also. He was the younger brother of the late Sirif Cisse. Fode was head of marketing, but he later became the general manager of Gamtel. Okay, before his retirement. And you had somebody like his assistant was Mr. Usman Sonko. And many wonderful, motivated, focused people.
Local Gambians.
Everybody. There was no outside. People you couldn't even understand.
For years. I mean, we have heard, of course, during this time I was in Borno, I was young. But for years, we've heard that Gamtel was either number one or next to South Africa when it comes to telecommunication in Africa.
Exactly.
What went wrong?
Because, when Gamtel started, Mr. Njai, Bakari Njai, this is what he told Jawara. He said, look, we need to train people. Yes, we need to train Gambians. Because we know right now only Iliman is a graduate. But the rest of these people, we have a school, let us train our people. Wherever necessary. He said, when we train, I believe this is how he put it. He said, when we train 100 people and 50 of them leave, we'll be only left with 50. But if we train 300, 400 people, minimum bachelors very well, if 300 people leave, we are still left with 300 people. And this is the case at Gamtel, even today. Gamtel has has one of the most trained staff in the whole of the Gambia. Very, 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 very highly trained people in Gambia.
Okay, so what went wrong? Gamtel was doing well. I mean, in
Gamtel
Africa,
invested in the human resources.
Okay.
And this is where the national part comes in. And it's so vital. This is what so many people miss. Most people, I could remember during Gamtel days, people will get up on Sunday morning and go to work. They'll be there until 2 o'clock. Just to realize that today is Sunday.
Okay.
You have to be motivated to do that. And this is how Bakari Njai does it. And during Gamtel days, what the government did was they do what they call performance contract. They have criteria, they set criteria for us, like the quality of service, the quality of call, the number of drop calls. If you want to make a call and you drop a call, that is too bad for us. We try to avoid that. The number of lines we create, the number of lines we connect, the quality of service, and everything is monitored. In telecommunications, easy. You monitor all these things. These are all done by the International Telecommunication, ITU. They do all this. They know what everything is. And this was how they used to grade us. Even today, you can do it. That's how they used to grade Gambia and South Africa. If you make an international call, the first time you went through, that's A. If you have to do it 3, 4, 5 times, then your quality is very poor. When you make a call and it drops, and the cost of the call, all of these together combined is what gives you a good quality telecommunications network. And during Bakari Njai's time, what most people don't know, the whole concept of Gamtel was to make money for the government. And Gamtel was making a lot of money for the Gambia government. A lot of money. I'm privileged. I was privileged to witness meetings where I know how much money Gamtel was generating at the time.
Can you share that with us?
No, I might not be able to.
For the sake of, yes, about approximately,
I mean,
how many millions or billions.
But these are figures you can get. You can go to ministry. You can easily. These are figures that are available in the Gambia. You can easily get them. You can easily get them because every year we had to go to Bakari has to go to Parliament and make a declaration of how much profit we make, and this how much dividend we pay to the government, and everything. And that's why I could not understand. In fact, I understood why it was done, but some people knew how much money Gambia government was making, and this is what the Gambia government is denied today.
Let's come back to you a little bit. What role did you play in all this? I know you grew through the ranks.
I started as like I said, I started as a microwave radio technician, telephone technician. Then later, in 1985, I was called by Mr. Bakari Njai into his office because when the amalgamation was done with cable and wireless, some people in cable and wireless were not very happy about. It's just human nature. Nobody likes change.
Yes, comes with resistance. Yes, it comes.
So he was not
resistance.
very comfortable about it. So he called me in his office. I think I'm saying this probably for the first time. I used to call myself an engineering espionage. He called me into his office. He said, Bruma Dibba, he said, I want you to go to Abuko. You see, the people there, most of them are not happy about this. I want you to go and learn everything you can. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this guy trusted me. So when I went to Abuko, for me, I just immerse myself in anything I want to, anything that is to be learned. If I ask people, you don't know, you couldn't tell me, I just go and open the books. That's how I started teaching myself about so many things. Reading. If I don't know, I ask. Until one day, and luckily for me, I was attached to another wonderful human being, late now, Mr. Michael O'Reilly. He is somebody who also contributed a lot to my life. He's late. He's from this place, Rankin Street in Banjul.
Okay.
Michael is another. I pray for him every day. It is Michael who opened my eyes and showed me what I needed to do. Because I definitely always want to share this. I was living with my two brothers in Banjul. One of them was going to Nusrat High School, Mustafa. Is he now in Seattle here? So daily, you know, I went to my dad. I told him, look, I want to pay for Mustafa and Ablai's school fees. You know, my dad, he could have paid for it. Then, you know, when I told him, he looked at me and he just laughed. So when at that time, my salary was $116.
$116.
Yeah, our rent was $35.
Okay.
I was living in a single room in Perseverance.
Uh-huh.
But you know, we had a bed, so I just lie down. I used to spend the night on the floor. We had one basin for lunch. We would eat that one, you know. So every day when Mustafa is going to school, I used to give him $5. Then he will tell me, look, let me go to that. I said, don't go, don't ask him for anything. I'll manage it. So during that time, it was so hard. One day I had to borrow money from Michael. So I did it once, I did it twice. The third time he told me, Mr. Dibba, I don't like giving you a loan. I said, but why? I was getting irritated when he told me that. He said, no, look, the way I get this money, you can get it in the same way. I told him, what do you mean? He said, look, I'm equally trained like you. We had the same training. What I do is I do repairs. At that time, Gambia, the only television signals we were getting were coming from Senegal. So we had these Yagi television antennas.
The one with the lines.
It's called Yagi.
Okay.
You know, that's it's a Japanese name. And he said, if you're ready to go with me, let's go and we walk, then you can get money. That day, we went with his small motorbike. You know where we went to? Mr. Job Dollar, one of my heroes.
Okay.
Mr. Job Dollar, that guy, I got so much advice from those people. We went to Mr. Job's house. When we arrived, he introduced ourselves. He said, Mr. Job, how are you? Fine. And he told me, okay, go up. Before that, he briefed me what to do. I went up, I checked the cables and everything. It was corroded. I cleaned everything. I connected it. I came down, connected, put on the TV. Bam, the signals came in fine. I was so happy. You know, that kind of happiness, nobody can pay you.
I know.
That was an eye opener for me. And that day, Mr. Job gave us $75.
Okay.
You imagine?
You were making $116 a month.
Exactly.
And you got paid $75.
So Michael gave me 25. He told me, it's not always like this. One of the best advices I got in engineering, I got them from Michael O'Reilly.
Okay.
Yes, Michael is somebody I will never ever forget.
You were patient and ready to learn.
Ready to learn. And this guy is a good person and he showed me everything. And after that, the interesting part is this. Anytime somebody calls Michael, and there were no cell phones at the time, anytime you call Michael, you use the same telephone, he'll take the call and he told me, look, let's do this. If somebody calls me to go and fix his line, I'll ask you to go and do it. If he pay you $100, you're going to give me $50. I told him, okay. I agreed. Many people will think I was stupid, but no. He was trying to teach me something, to be responsible. Because if I come to your house, I fix your line, I'll give you my number to call me instead of calling Michael. This was how I started building my own client base. Even spanners, he used to rent spanners to me. He did it once. That was the end. I end up going to and bought my own screwdrivers and spanners. Okay. This is how you teach somebody to be responsible. And this is what Michael O'Reilly did for me. And he showed me a lot about Abuko Art Station, and I learned so much things. From that moment, that's where I went all the way until he left for England with his family, and I ended up installing the first satellites in Gambia.
Yes, I heard you were the one who installed the first 100 satellites in Gambia.
Michael O'Reilly introduced me to Michael Blell. Michael Blell is the younger brother of Freddie Blell.
Okay.
Michael is the kind of person he should have studied engineering, but he's in the business. Okay. Michael is so inquisitive. He kept on asking me, Dibba, how can we get satellite signals? How can we send satellite signals? I told him, Mike, just to get him going, I told him, Mike, if in Abuko we have a big dish, we get signals occasionally. Those signals, if you have a big dish, you will be able to receive it. Just to let him go. On the whole, Michael went and bought a satellite dish from America and brought it over.
His own, those big.
He ordered it, then he called me. He said, Dibba, come. It took us so long. In the end, we got the signals. That's how I started installing. Then he ordered about 12 of them. He ordered 10, 16 feet. Messed up. Those are the white ones. Sehu Sise, Amadou Samba, Freddie Blell, this boy, Charbel.
You're talking about the big dogs.
The big dogs, exactly, yeah.
Back in the days.
Botu, and things like that.
Okay.
So when it came, after installing the first one, then he ordered these 12. Then he bought two big ones, one for Fuad Mahmoud and also Brian Faraj. So I started installing. The first satellite I installed, that type, was in Amadou Samba's house. You know, when you go into on Newtown Road, Timbuktu.
Yes,
After Timbuktu, there's a tar road going inside, just a little bit inside, until that's where Amadou was renting. That's where I installed the first satellite. When I later transferred it to his other house over there, that was the birth of satellite in the Gambia.
Okay.
But later, Mr. Modutal, who came into the business through Mr. Lifeis, another wonderful human being, you know, because I was installing a dish for the American embassy. Another Lebanese guy, Ali, he ordered the dish for the American embassy. I installing it the evening time. So he was passing by, he saw me, he saw somebody fixing the satellite. He stopped. He said, "Who's doing this?" They said, "Dibba." And I came along. He said, "Look, I have a problem with mine." One American came to install it for him. So it was decided at that time that he was introduced to Motal. Then after installing that one, then the guy was supposed to come to Gambia. Anytime he installed, then Modu will pay for his air ticket and everything. That's when I got introduced to Mr. Tal. Mr. His had a problem. For so many, he was making calls all the time. So I went to his house. It was just the tune. I just programmed it properly. He was so happy. He paid me so much money. I told him, "Hey, that's too much."
Somebody paid you, sir. You never received that type of money.
I've never seen, like for a 5 minutes job, it was not even a job. But he was so happy. He said, "Look, wait." Then he called Mr. Tal, Modu. That's when I was introduced to Modu. At the time, he ordered 20 other pieces of the black one, the one from JIBP and others. Then that one, the first one I installed was in this place, CSC. CSC, and the CSC, they end up buying 6 of those. And I went into Senegal too.
What were these satellites doing? They were enabling them to be able to watch television, international channels and
CNN,
stuff.
Canal France, European channels at the time, European television stations. These were what was happening. The interesting part was when I went to Dakar, the first one I installed in Dakar was in, the owner of CSC, Aliun Song. Mr.
CSC, the construction
company. Yes. He's the owner in his house in Fan Residence. And funnily, his son now owns Radisson Hotel. Yerim was the one assisting me. Yerim so.
Okay.
Then he studied computer science, in this place in Canada. He went back and he was selling computers. So when I went there, I started so he would ask me, "Where did you study this?" I said, "No, I didn't study it anywhere."
But Gambians, for a long time, did not study a lot of the things that they did. Anywhere from what you're talking about, telecommunication, to even videography. You see a lot of young Gambians that are doing a lot of damage when it comes to their profession. And they never went outside of the country to study it anywhere. They just learn by passion, or they're passionate about it. And this still happens,
In fact, that's what I try to tell people. If I had it my way, the best example I can give you is mechanics in Gambia, Senegal, and Africa. The best mechanics, they don't even know how to read and write.
Yes.
And these are the best mechanical engineers that we have. What do we need to do? Teach them to be literate and to let them through instruction.
Modernize it.
Exactly. That's all we need to do. But most of our leadership, they don't even consider this anything. Let me give you my case. After installing all those satellites, it was in 1995. Then I came to America to study in DeVry.
University,
to study electronic engineering technology. Yes, to do a bachelor's in electronics engineering technology. In the beginning, they told us that the course was so difficult. It's like trying to drink from a fire hydrant. That's what they told us. I was nervous. I was saying, "Oh, hold on a minute," because after 15 years completing high school, I said, "Oh God, I hope I will make it." Mr. Youth, amazingly, when we started going, the higher we go into the course, 6, 5, 5, 6, 7 semester, 8 semester, the easier it was for me. We went to the point, one of our professors, Rodriguez, when any moment I started talking, he said, "No, Dibba, you keep quiet, you know everything." Because he's talking about things that I worked on, things that I read and knew and fixed on my own. He's trying to teach me things like that. And this is the case with Gambia. We need to look at our education system. At some point, honestly, I thought it was a waste of money for me to come to DeVry. The things I learned in DeVry: psychology, sociology, English language,
Not more or less connected to your field.
Not the actual engineering that this course subject was like almost, I'm telling you, over 80% of what they were
Your
trying to say, I
electives, right?
already knew it. I was in the student, academic support center. That's where I was working for a long time before I eventually went to work for a company like Rockwell Automation. I was doing repairs. Why? All because of, thank God to Michael O'Reilly. I always refer back to Michael because we were fixing television sets in Banjul. The all components, they are basically the same as a computer monitor. And there I was trying to fix them. People were fixing 6, 7, 8. I was fixing up to 15 a day because thank God so Michael O'Reilly again. Michael showed me the techniques and everything. With my little knowledge in engineering, it was easy.
Going back to Banjul, of course, computers were not as they are today. So how were you studying? I mean, where were you doing your research? Did you have to read from books?
Actually, before we left Gambia, they were teaching basic computing. You know, what they call basic computing. In America, nobody teaches you that, like the basic languages, no. So when I came, I started panicking when we get into like C++, you know, like writing code. And luckily I met one boy from Alan Smallwood. He was one of his smart kids. So we became friends. We used to go together. He told me, no, don't worry. This is easy. Because I was helping him with the electronics and the mathematics. And he was helping me with the computer coding. And that's how I easily clicked. So we would go into the library, you know, because it was in 1996 that the President Clinton liberalized the telecommunications in here. That's where then the internet services started in America, you know. So I got connection at my home. So we were the first people who were getting our assignments online.
So we go back to Gamtel.
Okay.
You mentioned it was for a long time doing very well next to South Africa. I mean, Jawara left in 94. Yaya Jammeh came over. History tells us that even GRTS, the television, was actually supported by Gamtel. I remember, of course, their first office was right there on Kairaba Avenue.
Exactly.
This is all because of the money Gamtel was making, as you've referenced to earlier.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. In 1997, 87, we had a French attaché. He was at the art station. You know, he was coming there to assist us. Then he observed that I was interested in energy, and he proposed to Mr. Njai again. Then that's when I moved again. From the art station, I was assigned to go and set up the energy department. And setting up the energy department, because at that time, NAWEC, how do you call it? NAWEC was really, really bad. So he told him, if you don't have a section that is called energy power, you will have a problem running Gamtel. Because as of today, right now, almost 95% of failures with telecommunication institutions, it's all power, it's all energy. That's when we started solar. Then it took me 13 years to get to that point. But getting to the question of Gamtel taking over GRTS, that was one of the most honorable things that was done in the Gambia by Gamtel, because Gamtel invested full 100% on the setting up the GRTS television. Because there was no television in the Gambia, Gamtel took it over. Because Gamtel had the revenue at the time. Like I said, Gamtel was run by a management team plus the board of directors. They take all the decisions. They were independent until when Yaya Jammeh came. And about the television, it was a good thing to set it up. But it was during that time I am convinced he knew about the finances of Gamtel.
When the whole GRTS thing was
setting up, yeah. Because the amount of money Gamtel was spending, and eventually he started controlling the finances of Gamtel. In a telecommunications institution, when you get money, you need to be updating constantly. Constant updating. This was what was happening before Yaya Jammeh took over. Even the billing and all these things were totally under his control. So the of course,
Gamtel billing.
He took over everything, and that was the crazy part. Because if he had left it as it is, let Gamtel operate and let Gamtel continue on their own projects, just to be paying a certain amount of every year to the government. Yeah, exactly. then we would have been even beyond America by now. Because it was in 1990, or which year was it? 1990 was when we ran our first optical fiber cable from Banjul all the way to Basse.
So Gambia has fiber cable
Before any country in Africa. Just like our electronic switches. We had fiber. It was a 6 fiber.
But why are we still so far behind? This day, this second, July of 2020, internet, the cost of internet in the Gambia is more expensive than anywhere in the world. I say it because I call a lot of places. The same thing with direct line calls for Gambia. Why is that so then?
You know, what we have in the Gambia currently right now, after that 6 fiber, there was another project because the ECHO. They run a 74 fiber from Banjul across the river to Bara. From Bara, it ran all the way to Fatoto, cross the river again, back to Brikama, Katong, Gunjur, all the way back to Serekunda again. So we have a total complete loop. Even inside Serekunda, Banjul area, we have fiber almost everywhere right now.
What is the problem?
All we need to do is anybody who wants to help Gambians today, bring in a management team, let them develop, we call it the last mile in telecommunications. The last mile is from the main fiber into people's houses. And today, as we start today, you can, the last time I checked, there's a company here in Seattle. You can use one strand of fiber. You know, I told you they have 74 fiber running. You can use one strand of fiber, go into an area like this, you connect 93 houses on that single fiber. And you can get a speed of 1 gigabyte, 10 gigabytes, up to 100 gigabytes with one strand of fiber. So in other words, when you go to Burusubi, for example, you look at a strategic location, 96 compounds. I think it's even more than that. With the one single strand, you can supply everybody in that neighborhood with fiber. You know, the beautiful thing about fiber is, if you talk about communications, what we call frequency, fiber, you can transmit everything on fiber from 0 frequency up to infinity. It's only fiber that can handle that. Most people don't understand, when you use wireless radio is very much limited. The bandwidth of radio is very, very limited.
And that's what we are still on.
Yeah, and that's it. But as it is right now, we can run fiber to everybody's compound in Gambia right now. That's all Gamtel needs to do.
And this has been there for ages.
It has been there for almost.
Why is it not done? Do you know? Do you have any idea?
The reason is because when Yaya Jammeh took over the finance of Gamtel, the Gamtel management, all the consecutive money, they cannot upgrade. The switches we have are old. We have 2 switches, one in Serekunda, one in Banjul. We have remote, switches, but their capacity is limited. And the last time those things were put there, you're talking about almost 15 years ago. Whilst AfriCell, QCell, and others are upgrading as quickly, because they will just sit as a team and just decide what to do, and that's how it used to be done.
With Gamtel.
It's like you tie my legs and ask me to run with people. This is what is happening with Gamtel.
Okay.
Even today, Gamtel's billing system, if the last time I checked, there are some of the billings, they are controlled from Lebanon.
Really?
Yeah.
Gamtel.
Lebanon or somewhere, yeah. The billing system itself. If you want certain information, you have to call somebody in Lebanon to do it for you. Nothing is controlled by Gamtel.
And this was all done by Yaya Jammeh?
Of course. Billboards. AfriCell said they have 1,600,000 customers. If you combine those two, how many customers are those? That's 3 million customers. Now, when you go to the Gambia, you make a call. I'm not talking about internet or other cellular services. Let's look at only voice calls. How much do you spend on a daily on a voice call? Everybody with a telephone in the Gambia, on the average, if we average it, everybody spends minimum $20. Am I wrong or right?
It's something. It would sound very close to it. Yeah.
Anybody you ask in Gamtel, how many do you Gambia? How many do you spend on telephone? They will tell you at least $20. If you multiply $20 by 3 million, that is $60 million a day. Multiply that by 30, that is $1.6 billion. Can you? I'm not saying we stop private companies. No, you know.
Now the coming of those private companies, then do you think Yaya Jammeh had any hand in that?
Of course, he had to have a hand in that. You know,
Africell came first, right?
Africa came first. At the time, Gambia was #1 in the world. But if you look at telecom service in Gambia now, it is what we call CDRs. You know, CDRs these are the things you use for metering. For example, your line. I can regulate how quickly and how slowly your rate of charges would go. You understand? But who controls that? Who knows what's
Pira?
Do they even know what cities are? Do they know what it is? Because how many times you see people walking into Africell complaining about the cheating they are being cheated? If Pura could have done something, wouldn't they do anything? But those people, they don't even know what's going on. The people in Pura, I don't think they really understand what's going on. You see, you need people Gambians who really understand what's going in there. But even that, the most dangerous part of what is happening in Gambia is our gateway. If you go to any country, any standard organized country, the gateway is controlled by the government, so that you can control and know the traffic going in and coming in, the type of traffic that is going on. If Mr. You've look at the banking system today, all our banking transactions are done online. Don't you think we should be the one controlling that?
Yes.
But Africell, QCell, and all these people, they have access to the gateway. They go in and out anyhow they want. Nobody knows what they are doing.
And in your perspective, that's wrong.
In America here, how did the American government know that the Russians were
interfering with the election?
Because AT&T, all this, you have FBI, CIA agents sitting over there, technicians, engineers who know and monitor things. This is the security of the United States. But do we have that in the Gambia? No, we don't. But when you talk to certain people, they'll tell you, no, we need to privatization. It's good for who?
You are touching a very sensitive.
No, we talk about 1.6 billion a month. Let's imagine, for example, if the Gambia government today, if Barrow decides to, Barrow has, let's say, 600 or 800 million a month from telecommunication. And this is money from my pocket, your pocket, my mother's pocket, and it is from the local people. We would rather give it to the government than give it to a private person. What benefit do we have paying our money to a private person? I would rather pay it to Gamtel. So Gamtel will use the money and make roads. Do you understand? Then pay our teachers $10,000 a month.
Well, they can further argue that they are doing their corporate social responsibilities by giving money to government or supporting,
but
institutions.
Why do you have to give it to a private person to give it to government when the government owns it himself? Look, the biggest problem in the Gambia today, when you talk about corruption, look, you pay a police officer $3,000. $3,000. What's the cost of a bag of rice?
1,000, 2,005.
How can he feed his family? It's not possible for a police officer, a teacher. How do they feed their family? What's our workforce? The highest paid, a permanent secretary, you're paying a permanent secretary $10,000. That is $200. Now, somebody comes and offer you 150. How many people will be able to say no? My friend, let us be reasonable. Our government has to have a source of income. And the telecommunications, it was set up by the government. Before somebody else benefits, why don't the government benefits and pays and build our roads? Look at how much loan the Gambia government is taking right now. We are taking loan from all over the place. Telecommunications is ours. Originally, it was set up to give money to the government.
Now so you're telling me that Yaya Jammeh most likely has a hand in those private telecommunications.
Look at the Jammeh Commission. What did we learn from the Jammeh Commission? Jammeh had in social security. So do you expect a telecoms company like AfriCell to come and set up for free in Gambia, working on their own like that? Just, my friend,
but he's no longer in the country. So you want to tell me he's still benefiting from Equatorial Guinea, from Malabo?
I don't know, but people say things, but just think about it. Just think about it.
Or did his share go to Barrow?
Who knows? Maybe.
Did his share go to Barrow? Is Barrow the new shareholder of...
Look, the way things are, the problem with Mr. Barrow is we had so much hope in this guy. I voted for him. I voted for Barrow. Oh, we had high hopes. Man, but honestly, the way things are going, everybody's really disappointed. Honestly, really, really disappointed with what is going on because, oh man, we had so much hope. We had so much hope in this man.
Before we go to Barrow, I'm interested in this AfriCell, QCell, and all these private telecommunication companies that are like handling this telecommunication. So do you think it is too late for Gamtel to, because Gamtel seems to be dead.
See,
these telephone companies are really ahead.
You don't even have to stop them. You don't even have to take them over. Okay. What you do is empower Gamtel. How do you empower Gamtel? You have to look for money right now and develop the network.
Okay.
But in America here, we are right now on Wi-Fi. That Wi-Fi is either connected in copper, ADSL, or on a fiber modem. When you have a fiber modem, for everybody, let's say how many households are in the Gambia? Let's say 200,000 households in the Gambia. Even if every one of them pay $1,000, how much is that a month? How much is that?
That's a lot of money. 1,000 by 200,000. That's in the millions anyway. 200 million or something like that.
No, yeah, it's about 200. Yeah, exactly. $200 million a day.
Thereabout.
Gamtel can have that money. 200 million.
No.
Only from Wi-Fi, and that is not where the actual money is. In today's world, in the internet, it's content that is paid, advertisements. If Gamtel can go to anybody in America or anywhere in the world, say, look, I have this amount of customers on my network, and they can prove it. You can show them amount of, and this is what is being done here. Xfinity and all these other service providers, that's what they do. They can tell you, look, I have this amount of customers online. In a household, this amount of people in a household, I have about this amount of millions of people who watch it. That's where the companies are paid. That's where Gamtel will be paid. Gamtel wouldn't worry about you making a call, a Wi-Fi call and things like that. Just give Gamtel the chance to compete against these people. Honestly, they will all close.
The people you mentioned, the Ilimans, the Bakarinjais, and others that set up Gamtel, are they all still there?
They are alive and kicking. But the question is, why are they not involved in the running of Gamtel in telecommunications? Not a single one of them is involved.
Bakari was involved though until he rose through the ranks till the
let's forget about Yaya Jammeh. Let's forget about Yaya Jammeh. Let's start with Adama Barrow. Adama Barrow should know that it was Bakari Njai who started Gamtel, Iliman Chams. These are people, they are not old, they are there. You don't have to bring them to run Gamtel. No. We have young people who are highly trained all over the United States. If you search, you will see them. In Seattle, how many kids
I know a lot
who
of
are working, in America, in Atlanta, in England.
AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, Singular
Bring them back home. Say, look, let's set this up. They will come. They'll come and set up everything.
With the modern
all you need to do with Bakari and others, they don't even have to be in the board. They don't just come over there and guide these people with their experiences and things like that. But in telecommunications, these are the pioneers. They spend their entire life building this company. And they are never ever mentioned in telecommunications these days. Why? Why? At least even for nothing, you honor them for what they did. I don't see any human being in this country who did more in Gambia than those people. Just give me one person. You tell me this person did more for the Gambia than Bakari Njai, Iliman Cham, Cham, Kebe, Jan, Ismaila Sise.
Well, right now the world is a global village where, because of communication, everything is easily done, of course, because of easy access to communication.
Exactly.
But for our own, it is just so difficult. I mean, having access to anything. Those of us that
It's not
operate
difficult.
online television. Just today, right before I came here, my guys were covering the daily press briefings by the Ministry of Health. The network was breaking up and down. I, in fact, disconnected it and just moved
Because
on.
it's
I was very
wireless.
annoyed. I was very annoyed.
It is wireless. Wireless. You know, when you transmit video, you need
Bandwidth.
bandwidth.
Mhm.
You understand? But if you have a fiber cable to everywhere in the Gambia, if you connect to the proper network, you know, you have so many networks, you wouldn't even have that problem. Your bandwidth can easily move. You go anywhere you go. This is what we need to do. What we need to do is Gamtel needs money to expand its network, make trenches, lay pipes to people's houses. It's already there. Expand it. If you look at behind Sukuta all the way to Gunjur, you have all these companies, real estate companies going over there. There is no telephone services there. There are no plans. Right? Gamtel cannot do it because Gamtel doesn't have the money.
Now you're making me think outside of the box, even with the security risk involved in having all these private companies who are not 100% owned by Gambians, or Gambians own a small token of it. We have several evidences. The Africell, obviously, we all know it's owned by the NARS. The same thing, QCell, we know, has Mohammed Jah has a small share of it. I mean, Comium, of course, talk about it. All these companies that are run by non-Gambians or owned by non-Gambians. Somebody told me, of course, our electricity, car power ship. Somebody tells me, su nari mere big fountain, su nari mere dañoo jóg suba rek duñ fekk gaal bi dem yoonam, right?
When it comes to privatization,
we brought our ID cards and give it to Simlex. Like our military, just last week, Lamin Bojang was saying on one of the platforms that Arama Baro has not learned from Jawara by leaving our security still in the hands of ECOMIC and this thing. So everything in our country basically is outsourced.
What do you know? What do you know more complicated than telecommunications, starting it from scratch? Gamtel. And it's done by Gambians, 100% Gambians. Then what else is it that Gambians cannot do? If the will is there, but what we need to start thinking about is stop thinking about the little money you have. 200 million is a lot of money. Yes, it's a lot of money. But my friend, you cannot sacrifice the life of a nation. I pray to God every day. I pray to God, if I am to get money in that way, may Allah never, never, ever give me money in that fashion. Honestly, I pray to God. I'm happy with what I have in my life. What people need to understand is this. Gamtel has to be revitalized. How? We need to run all these cable networks to people's houses and connect them. This is something you cannot delay. It has to be done now. And don't give it to a private company. Own it yourself. Because the Gambia government, what is the main source of revenue for the Gambia government now?
Taxes.
GRA. After GRA, where else? And Gamtel can give the government more money than anything else. Why would you want to give that to somebody else? You can privatize some of them, no problem. But look, when it comes to NAWEC, I don't mind privatizing. I have an electrical background. Generating electricity is very expensive. Yes, it's very, very expensive. Take your generator at your house, for example. If you want to run your generator 24 hours, how much money do you have to spend?
Yes, on fuel and everything.
Exactly. So, and electricity like that. So if somebody wants to sell you electricity, like the case of Senegal, I will buy electricity from Senegal. You know why? Senegal sells electricity to NAWEC for, I think, $7 per kilowatt hour. NAWEC sells it for $11 per kilowatt hour. You are getting $4 per kilowatt for generating nothing. That is free money. I will do that. Even car power, if they are giving it to me even $8, I'll buy it. I don't have to worry about maintenance. I don't have to fuel or nothing like that. But telecommunications, nobody gives you telecoms. Lebanon has, I think, 4 telecommunications operators. I believe 3 or something like that. It's all owned by the Ministry of Communications.
The government of Lebanon.
Yes. And we took our, we can privatize. I have no problem with privatizing. But taking everything and giving it to foreigners.
But China is controlled 100% by the government.
QCell originally was Chinese. Huawei is involved in it. But when you go to China, you think you will set up a telecoms in China? Will the Chinese allow you to do that?
Anybody just comes to Gambia and set up any type of business and sell dreams to our
all
governments
because
and
what people
the
do
amount of money they will tell our government and then
and this is
thinking
how
that
it starts. Look, bring it over. You'll give me certain shares and I'll give you. That's it. People don't think about the repercussion and the effect. No,
on the
they
public.
only worry about how much money. Okay, you can be rich. You can have 300. You can have $1 billion. Yeah, but that's only you at the expense of the country. My friend, we need to start thinking twice. If QCell, AfriCell, Comium, when they make, let's say, $3 billion in Dallas, it's foreign Dallas currency. That Dallas currency, they don't have no use for it. They have to change that Dallas currency into foreign currency to be able to ship it out. Because it's illegal. It's legal. They're not doing anything illegal. It's legal for them to do that. And that's why you have all these forex bureaus in Gambia. Most of them are working for AfriCell, Comium, and QCell. And now, AfriCell, QCell, they didn't do anything wrong. Look, if somebody gives me an opportunity, I'll take it. But what effect is it having on the Dallas? The demand, that's why the Dallas is right now is about 50,
inflation.
52, yeah, exactly. But if Gambia government owned all that billions, for example, let's say half of it, let's say Gambia government owns 2 billion of that money. Gambia government doesn't have any need to change that Dallas to
cash
foreign
flow
exchange.
will
Exactly.
be
So it will bring the stability of the Dallas. I'm not an economist, but this is something I know. I know it's going to happen. It's going to help our currency in that way.
We've been on for about an hour. Now, where do we start to revitalize Gamtel, in your view?
Look for improve the management team and give them, set up a very good, meaningful board of directors.
Are you telling me the ones that they are?
I don't even know who are there.
When did you leave Gamtel, by the way?
I left Gamtel because I was the regional manager regional manager for Western Division.
Okay.
I started a project in Brikama, Jeddah. With my team, we did about 1,800 lines in Brikama, Jeddah.
Telephone lines.
Yeah, telephone lines. We were trying to put 3 cabinets, but I was only able to do only 1 cabinet. And Kabafita too, we did about 100 and something lines in that area because we had a lot of, where jar oil is, there were so many mixed up wires, so we had to bring them all down, put everything on the ground. Nyambai and others, and Brusubi. We did, Brusubi, Brufut area, Ransom, and, Gunjur, Katong. I was trying to do so many things, and people were like, Brahma doesn't plan, he's just trying to do it. They were fighting me, in and out. Honestly, because some of them, all they were interested in is to give out contracts so that the contractors will give them some money. I go there myself with my car. I do it myself with my people. Sometimes there was a moment I had $25,000 impress. That was what I was using to dig the ground. What I do is I call these petty contractors and tell them, look, I have this number of kilometers to dig. You guys dig it for me. They were paying them, I think, $6. I told that's too small. So myself and Babukar Sanyang, he was then the director of planning. I told him, Babukar, let's try to improve this. This is too small for them. So I was using my impress to pay the contractors to dig the ground, and I just ask them to bring me a receipt. I used this to replenish. So somehow most people didn't like the way I was going. They convinced the managing director. He removed me over there. So when he removed me, he brought in another person because we had a lot of things. We were over to the airport. This guy came and started bringing lines down in the airport and just messed everything up. That's how Yaya Jammeh fired that man, MD. So I was brought back to Brikama again, just to, again, they privatized Gamtel at the time to Sprint. What's his name of the
Singular?
No, there was this company, this Lebanese company that took over Gamtel.
Okay.
That was the last straw for me. We wanted to do something. I couldn't get even cables to go and work on people's line, even simple things. Babukar Sanyang was the director of network at the time. I told him, Babukar, I'm sorry, I cannot do this thing. I have to leave. He said, no, please don't. I said, look, I have to go. I cannot just come to work just to be paid and sit down, don't do it. I said, that's not me. I'd rather go and sit home. I'll be able to feed myself. They said everything. Even the Lebanese, they thought, I said, no, I'm gone. I left in 2008. That's when I took up voluntary retirement.
Now, what do you do now?
Me, I do, I have an electrical engineering background, telecommunications and electronics. So I used to do a lot of consultancy work for NAWEC, rural electrification. Like the one they started from Jaring. I was working with an Indian company. I was supervising that up to last year, yeah, and it was completed. We did 2 generators in Farafenni, 2 in Basse. And we ran a line from Basse to, across the river to Sutukova, Diabu, this Sarahule village, and also from Basse to Bansang, connected Bansang. Then from Jareng also to Bansang. Then we crossed over also the other side, Kuntaur area. We did some villages there on electricity. And also in Farafenni to Kaur to Bambali. Then from Farafenni to Ilyasa to this place, to Jabakunda, because the electricity from Kerawan stopped at Jabakunda. We connected all that way to Farafenni, also from Bara to...
But that electricity is now more stable than that of the combos. You
Of
talk
course,
about the one that we're
because-
getting from Senegal, right?
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's more efficient
Because
and
what
more
happened-
reliable there than...
I'm not quite sure how much, but the Senegal is on a dump in this place, Manantani. It's in Mali. It's a electricity project that was done between Senegal, Mauritania, and Mali. Done on the Senegal River inside Mali. That's where Senegal generates most of its electricity. And this is the electricity that's coming all the way to Kaolack. And I think the Kaolack, and they had excess. This excess that they are not using is the one they sell to their quota, is what they sell to Gambia. And this is how it is done anywhere. If you look at Ghana, for example, the Akosombo Dam, it was done in 1960s by Kwame Nkrumah. Akosombo Dam supplies all those countries all the way to Nigeria. Even today, they supply Nigeria with electricity. Let's take Seattle, for example. How many dams are there on this river? About eight dams. Seattle supply electricity. Most people don't know. They supply electricity all the way to California, Portland, and all those areas. And that's how it's done anywhere. On the East Coast, the same thing from Canada. When you have a dump, you put up a trap. And there is this project that's coming from Futa Jalon. That's the one that's been done at Soma. This was started during Jawara's time, because they were supposed to put a bridge barrage in Farafenni, but instead of bridge now. But somebody advised them, when you put a bridge barrage, what happens is it causes some problems, flooding on the other side and things like that. So they went to the source in the Futa Jalon. That's where they put it. They put this electricity. I think Gambia is to benefit about 40 megawatts. That's the one that is being done in Soma right now.
Oh, okay.
That was the one Yaya Jammeh was saying there will come a time electricity will be free. I don't know if you could remember when he was saying, that's the project. Yeah.
You said you are disappointed with Barrow. Why?
Mr. Barrow, people, when you look at Yaya Jammeh did a lot in the Gambia. Yaya Jammeh's biggest problem and mistake was not letting people be. You don't own human beings.
The human rights violations.
Yeah, exactly. Even my own children, I don't own them. They came through me. I need to value and respect them. Sometimes when they say no, I just need to learn. But that's what he never understood. And he wasn't listening. If he had been listening to people, if he had been treating well, Yaya Jammeh could have been in Gambia for 50 years. Nobody will want him to go. Because the only way you know this, go to Guinea-Bissau, go to Guinea-Conakry, go to Senegal, and certain areas, you talk about Yaya Jammeh, even now, because of the developments he was aspiring for. But his problem was the government infrastructure. Don't touch that. You leave the government, and
he thought he owned it.
Owns people. That was his biggest mistake. And I'm 100%. If you have to sit with him today, you ask him, he'll regret that. If he hadn't exactly, yeah, and I'll be here 50 years, 100 years,
billion years.
Whatever you are, whoever you are, we are only human beings.
He touched religious
we will
leaders,
always
he touched
remain human
politicians,
beings.
he touched
And
everybody.
however important your position, how much money you have, we are always human beings. Trying to learn to respect people. Even if you agree with them, you not to, give the devil its due. Barrow has only one big advantage. That is, you can say anything you want in the country. You can go anywhere. Nobody will kidnap you. That's the only thing. But
that is deteriorating. And look at what happened to Mahdi Jobate. They just dropped the charges. Wasted his time for so long, only to end up dropping the charges.
That is something. If he wants to take that
within a couple of years. Last 2 weeks ago, my own staff in Gambia was arrested and taken to 3 different police stations, and exactly what happened to Mahdi, only for him not to be charged. They just wasted his time.
The problem is, if they want to start that, they're going to start.
Well, they're getting there.
No, I'm telling you, look, if they want to go into that land, they're looking for trouble.
They're getting there.
Because no, I'm telling you, Gambians will never take that any money from
I know,
anybody.
right?
Never.
Mhm.
You know, whoever wants to go along however stupid, just look at what is happening at TRRC.
Mhm.
How stupid a security officer would you be to want to allow yourself to somebody to make you do things after all what we have seen in TRRC right now?
Mhm.
All the crazy things that people were doing in the name of what? Look, a president is somebody we elected.
Servant of the people.
It's, period. You are nothing. You are absolutely nothing. We elected you. We went to the polls at risk, and we risk everything, put you there.
Well, Barrow seemed to be forgetting so soon, though, because when he took over, he said it. I remember his first press conference he did. He said 3 people learned from this, and those are who? He said Yaya Jammeh, the Gambian people, and myself. And what did they learn? That power belongs to the people. That Yaya Jammeh should learn that it's the people who put him there. He, Adama Barrow, should learn that. He said these are the 3 people who should learn from this. But he seemed to be forgetting so soon.
Let me help you with one thing. Let me just comment one thing. I'll go back to Bakari Njai.
Mhm.
See, leadership is not difficult.
Mhm.
If you are finding yourself ahead of people, especially when you're elected or you are appointed,
Mhm.
it's just but a stroke of pen or by election. That's how you are made there. If somebody comes to you and say, Mr. Juf, so and so and so, this is what Bakari Njai used to do. He will call you and make you say, okay, explain. The moment, when you lead people, the moment people start lying to you, telling you about other people, anytime they call the person and let them sit down and ask him to explain, nobody will ever do it again.
I know.
But you see, the reason power corrupts is the majority of people who come to you are
For
the
their
people,
selfish interest.
interest. Yeah. The ones who never come to you are the ones you need to seek because they have their pride. They have that. They would not lie to you. They will tell you the truth. These are the people you should go for, not people who praise you. Anybody who praises you, please move them away from you. They are the worst of your enemies. Even look at what is happening in this country. There are people who stood and said, no, they are fired. Sometimes you need to be fired. You need to leave. If you cannot take it, leave the job.
I know.
Yes,
but that's our problem. If you watch TRRC and Jammeh Commission and all these commissions, they will all tell you, oh, I couldn't leave. This is what I can do.
What do you mean I couldn't leave? I left Gamtel. Some people were telling me, no, you have your skills. No, it's not only my skills. Me, I can do farming. I can do anything you give me. I am a handyman because I'm willing and ready to work. That's why when I was as a regional manager in Gamtel, you know who advised me to leave Gamtel?
No.
You know Coach Sangdong?
Yes, Sang.
Sang is my friend. I was sitting in Sang's house. I was really pissed off that day. I was really angry. You know what he told me? He said, Dibba.
I was just talking about him with my friend Usman Jaji the other day.
Sang told me, Dibba, when was the last time I was fired at GFF as a coach? I told him, what has that to do with it? I said, 2003. He said, did I beg? Did I go hungry? He said, and you are much more skillful than me. He said, leave this job. And that's how I left. You see, sometimes you just have to ask yourself, in the Gambia, nobody starves to death. Tell truth for authority. If they don't respect you, leave, you'll get something better. But you have to believe in God. Most of us, we go to church. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. We go to the mosque, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. But we don't believe in God.
I know.
If you believe in God, you have to, certain point, you have to just stand by what is right. I'm not saying I'm perfect. No,
we may believe.
I have a lot of flaws myself. I am very, very, I do make stupid mistakes and everything all day. But I pray to God that I try by level best, try to do what is right. That's what I pray to God.
We may believe him and we don't trust him sometimes.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Anyway, time is, we've been on for over an hour.
Yes.
What would be your advice to Barrow?
My advice to Adama Barrow is, if you want to succeed, go to people you think who are your enemies. People who you think would not tell you the right thing. Call Mr. Mama Kande. Call Mr. Halifa Salah. Call people who criticize you every day on social media. Call them. Let them tell. You don't have to take what they say, but listen to them. Believe me, you will never make a mistake. But if you try to listen to people who are around you, hey, this, that, and that, and that, they'll put you into a mess and nobody will be able to help you. Honestly, look at how many people who are complaining. Yaya Jammeh. Yaya Jammeh didn't do everything. We now know that. He didn't do everything. But
he was aided and abetted by Gambians.
Yeah. Gambians. But look at him. Everything is just dumped on his head.
Yes. Everybody's running away and putting it back on him.
Yeah, exactly. So the best thing is listen to people. Listen to people. Look at. I understand that the managing director of NAWEC is fired. Why would you have to remove Baba's Jafatajo? Baba came in. He was doing an excellent job. Electricity was almost perfect. We would go 3 months, no power or shortage. You bring in somebody who had if you had taken somebody from inside, we could understand. Somebody who understands the system, understand how things are working. No, but somebody totally fresh. Why? Somebody wanted him to be there. But look at the mess that is going on. It's so sad. This is the thing. Barrow could have it so easy, even with the little time left. He needs to think outside the box. Don't let people around you dictate what you do.
But that's what they're paid for, though. He has how many advisors and stuff?
I'll tell you this. Jawara had advisors, but most of Jawara's best advisors were not in the State House. These are people who sit in Bantabas. We go to this whole by Jigeweli. He listens to everybody. Leadership, it's about encompassing everybody. You don't have to love, you don't have to want to hear what I say. When you find yourself ahead of people, if you could I'll say this in Mandinka, so bote buki for bola.
Okay.
It's that simple. And the fact that you want to be leading people, you would never have it as you want.
Your way, 100%.
People will say everything. And look at our recent leaders. Look at Obama. People will stand there and call him names. He'll say, okay, come, he'll call you. That is what leadership is about. You have to bring yourself down to earth. I tell people this. I always like to lie down on the ground, because you never fall down when you're on the ground. And that's what leadership asks for. If you find yourself ahead of people, I could remember Bakari Njai, the people who were totally against him are the people he will concentrate on and give them very good things. I learned this from Bakari Njai. And he told me once, he said, Dibba, be careful of people who are under you. These are your problem. Don't worry about the ones ahead of you. That's why when I used to quarrel with him, people thought I was crazy. But he was he was the one who advised me about that. Be careful of people under you. These are the people you are responsible for. And even the Quran or even the Bible or whatever you call it, the people under you are the ones God will ask you. What did you do for them? Not what did they do for you? No, what did you do for them? Leadership is all about the people, not you, me, or no, or my friends, or no.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Corona period. We would certainly say, well,
you are right.
It is an interesting interview, but we must cut it there. Lu neex du doy dañ koy dog ba beneen yoon. I hope President Barrow listens. I hope he hears this message. I hope the government of the Gambia considers what he said about Gamtel, and also, most importantly, the security of our country. Let's look at it. I've said it. SIMLEX, our national identification document, our national document,
database
controlled by, database controlled by a foreign company. Telecommunication controlled by foreigners. Security under ECOMIC. You name it. Almost every important sector of our country is controlled by foreigners. Food for thought. President Barrow and your government, think about this. Ñoxo Baye Show la woon till we come your way next time. Pa Ousmane Diouf, bye-bye.
kuy wut fu muy fanaan ak kuy wut ku ko wétali xanaa delloo buntu gi war la naa boole Yaa Fatus Guest House tijjil na leen buntu bi ñu leen fa am ak ñaari cabinet salle yu yaaña
amal leen li nga xamante ne mooy cabinet ak salle ñu ngi leen amal AC ak fan
salle bi nag lépp li ngeen soxla am na fa sofa yu nooy ñoo fa nekk TV bang fa cabinet boo dugga lal yu nooy leen fa amal nañ leen fa AC ak li nga xam ne moom mooy fan toilette yu set wicc amal nañ leen fa kitchen microwave fridge and room bu baax dama ne teranga day mut moo taxit Yaa Fatus Guest House amal leen extra kitchen lépp lu ngeen bëgg a togg mun ngeen ko toggee si gas cooker bii nii
kuy xalam di si jaayu nag barke bi yaay borom amal ne li nga xamante ne mooy ndox ak courant 24/7 bu leen tiit bu leen ragal bu leen xoof ndax amal ne lii di CCTV caméra.
seet si leen ñu si Farafenni gannaaw garage base bi Kawur highway.
very clean every day am na cleaning service ratio bi amul fenn.
Jaafatus guest house teranga àdduna bët kon nag seet si leen ñu.
If you want to receive monies from UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world, Supersonic's money transfer has got you covered. With the largest payout network in the Gambia, you can now receive your monies anywhere you are, from Kartong to Koina, with less hassle. Yes! You can receive monies from your family and friends in UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world with our safe, secure, fast, and convenient service that offers you the largest selection of payout locations in the Gambia. Supersonic's money transfer. We are currently in 34 African countries and counting, giving you quality money remittance services that are second to none. Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonics Money Transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics.